Welcome back, guys. So in this video we will continue learning about servlets. In this video we will be looking at working with cookies and session tracking. That would be the agenda for this video. Cookies we already have discussed twice. Okay, basically cookies let you store user relevant information in the web pages. Okay, for the server to recollect the user. Okay, so the server will be sending a small string which the browser will be storing locally. Every time the client requests, he will be sending that cookie to that particular server whenever he is basically talking with that server. So the cookies are saved as named value pairs. Okay, so username and then say for example some string or whatever may be the key value pairs. So as I already mentioned, in JavaScript, we already have seen how we can actually create, read, and delete cookies from the browser itself. Okay. Now let us try to see how the server actually can set the cookies for the browser. Okay. So you can actually create a cookie using this cookie object. Okay. Call its constructor. Okay. So you have to create a new cookie. Cookie C is equal to new cookie, and then some key and some value, both are actually strings. Okay, in this case, in this example, it is user ID and then some value for that one. As we have already discussed, once we have this sort of cookie, you have to set the maximum age. Okay, for the cookie, basically to tell the browser how long you have to store. If it is shorter, you have to store it in memory. If it is for longer, it has to basically store it on the disk. Okay. Say for example, you can set max age 60 times 60 by 24 by 7, so more or less 1 week. Okay, and once you have this cookie constructed at this sort of server, okay, so at the server side in the servlet, okay, you basically add it to the response. Okay, so use response.add cookie. Okay, so that it is added to the HTTP response. Okay, if you forget this step, the cookie is not stored. Okay, so the cookie is not actually sent to the browser, and thus it is not even stored. So you always remember response.add cookie is very critical. Okay, so great. Now the servlet has actually set the cookie, and we have set it to the response. So that means the client has received it. Next time whenever the client is actually requesting, he is sending that cookie value to that particular server. Isn't it? That's the basic idea of the cookie. You basically set it for the client, and the client stores it on his local disk, and then the browser, every time it actually contacts that server, it sends that cookie. Okay, now once the server receives a request, it basically can check whether are there any cookies assigned. So it can basically call request.getCookies. This basically yields an array of cookie objects. Okay, loop down this array calling a get name on each entry until you actually find the cookie which is of interest for us. Okay, so we can use the get value and then we can actually use it in application specific way, in whichever way we want to use it. Let me give you a small example. Say for example the cookie name earlier we set the user ID. Now whenever the next request is coming, we are seeing whether the cookie is there. So what we are doing is we are trying to read request.getCookies. So using which we are actually getting an array of all the cookies. Okay, and if this is not null, okay, say for example if there are no cookies, then it will be a null. If it is not equal to null, then what we are doing is we are getting all the cookies, okay, using a for loop, and then we are trying to get its name, and then we are trying to match it with the user ID. If it is a user ID, okay, so we will try to get its value, so whatever the user ID is, and we can do whatever we want to do with that one. So this is how cookie basically works. So now let us try to check say for example how a guy is actually coming to a server, and whether he is a new guy. Okay, so basically if he is a newbie, then we want to greet say hello, or if it is if he is known for us, okay, so we will basically welcome him back. Okay, so how to basically do that one? The idea is very simple. So we will basically set newbie is true, and we will actually get the cookies using the methods which I have already discussed. Request.getCookies. Okay, and then if the cookies are not equal to null, that means if there are some cookies, and if we are trying to match is he a repeat visitor. So the cookie which we are trying to set is repeat visitor is the cookie name, and the value is yes. So if it is already there, c.getName is equal to that one, and then it is there, so that cookie is already set. That means he is not a new guy. Okay, so that means it is false. So that's it, great. And then like if not, okay, then that means like he is a newbie. So that means like newbie is true. Okay. So if he is a newbie, then all we are doing is like we are trying to create a cookie. Okay, return visitor cookie. So new cookie, repeat visitor, yes, and we are setting it like 1 year for that user, and then like we are actually adding that cookie to the response. And based on if he is a newbie, then we are basically all we are trying to welcome aboard. So we are basically inviting him. And if he is not a newbie, then we are basically saying like welcome back. Okay, that's all. So this is how like you can actually use the cookies. Let's see with their demo. Okay, for this one. So let's go back again. So here is my repeat visitor. Okay, servlet. Okay. So whatever I have explained on the slide, like I have put that one. So now I have set the web servlet annotation as repeat visitor. So that means like if it is slash repeat visitor, okay. So then this is what is processed by this. If the request is for this one, this is what is processed by this servlet. Okay, we have seen that one already. So as I explained, like we are checking like whether if he's already well known, so he is not a newbie anymore. So if he is not, then we are basically saying like so if he is new, we are basically calling him welcome aboard, and if he is not new, we are basically calling him welcome back. Okay. And once I have that string, all I am constructing is a response, okay, with the set content type text slash HTML, and then like I am creating a small HTML page with the response. Okay. So setting the title. Okay. So basically, like let's assume like first time we are visiting, so that means like he is welcome aboard. Okay. So next time he's coming back. So we have welcome back. So that means like by the time like already the cookie is actually set. Okay, and then like we are welcoming back again. So from now on, like whenever he is basically whatever we are refreshing or like retyping, so the client has already the cookie, so he is actually sending that information. Okay. So it is already set for you. But if you really want to see like what is happening, so last time when we discussed the cookie, I already have shown you. So you can go to the browser, you can basically go to web developer options, and then like you can go to the storage inspector. Okay, so you see here is a cookie stored for you. Okay, localhost, yes, servlet. Okay, repeat visitor, yes, is set for you already. Okay. Also like the network, like you can actually see like what is the requests are coming, and then like we already have discussed these things, so you can actually see like all the headers which are set. Okay, so and also like all the cookies are also set. Okay, so basically like in the request header you can actually see like cookie is actually being sent. Okay, that's what is interesting for it. So now that we are always getting like welcome back, like if you want to delete cookie, this is the browser side, that means like this is the client side. So you have to go to the storage option. Okay, so here is the cookie, so basically you can delete this cookie. So that's it. So the browser has deleted the cookie, so next time like when you are sending the request to the server, you don't have the cookie, so you are being welcomed for the first time again. Okay, so next time you have the cookie, so you are welcome back. So the cookie is already set for you. Okay, that's actually interesting. So this is how like you actually work with cookies. Let's move back to the lecture. Great, we learned about cookies. Now let us look at sessions. Okay, so what are actually sessions? Many interactive websites actually spread the user data entry over several pages. Say for example, like if it is a Amazon.com or something like that, when you are trying to buy several items, you will not be buying all the items in one page, isn't it? You will be buying some items, and these items are actually stored in a cart. Okay, and you search further, you will be buying one more item. Okay, so that will be added to the cart. At the end, like you basically will be putting the shipping information, more or less like the address where you have to send, and then like there will be another page where you will be entering the billing information, and at the end like you will be basically sent all this information. So this is how like basically websites work. But the problem here is, how does the server actually know like which user has generated which of the requests, which of these HTTP requests? But at the same time, like when the client actually decides to proceed to checkout, how the server can determine like which previously created items actually belong to the cart of that particular user. Okay, so this is a big problem. So this is where like sessions actually come into picture. Of course, you can to some extent like rely on HTTP headers for that one, but then like it is very complex. Okay, so you cannot rely completely on these sort of standard HTTP headers for that one to identify each and every user. Okay, so how to deal with this one? Here comes the session as the answer. Of course, you can actually establish your own type of session tracking. Okay, so for example, like using the cookie, you can actually do this one. Say for example, you can associate a cookie with the data on the server. So the server, at the server, like you will basically set a session ID. Say for example, some unique string. You will basically put it for this particular user who has come for the first time, and you set a cookie with the session ID and the session value, and you basically send that cookie to the user. So whenever that user is basically coming to you, every time like he is basically bringing that cookie. That means like the session ID, he is basically getting it for you. Okay. So because like you have added response.add cookie to the session ID. So every time like if the user is actually sending the cookie, which is like the session ID, so you can actually map that session ID with certain hash table or something where like you actually save all this sort of users cart information or like the items he is buying, and you can actually keep track of that one. Okay, this is one solution. You can actually develop your session tracking with this one. But there are several things like you have to take care of yourself. Extracting the cookie that stores the session identifier is your responsibility. Setting the appropriate expiration time for the cookie is also your responsibility. Most often like websites maintain session timing something like 10 minutes to half an hour or something like that one. So you have to set the expiration time for the cookie, something like that. Okay, and then like mapping this associating this cookie to the hash table for each and every request which is actually coming to your website is your job. Okay, but using cookies like you can do this sort of session tracking. There are also other approaches using which like you can actually track the user. Okay, so and then like you can actually track the session for that one. So another idea is URL rewriting. Okay, so in this URL rewriting, the basic idea is the client basically appends some extra data at the end of the URL, whatever you are actually sending. Say for example, if he is trying to invoke post path file.html, here he is adding this session ID. The client is actually adding that information. So then the server associates that ID, whatever the ID which he has sent in the URL, okay, and then like it can actually associate it with the data, whatever it is stored. The same way like with the cookies, like it is can be access to that hash table or whatever it is. The good thing about this URL rewriting is this works even when cookies are disabled. Okay, so you might have checked like on your browser, like you can actually disable your cookies, or like some browsers don't even support cookies. Okay, because like cookies are really abused and several times like they can be used for security breaches and etc. Okay, say for example using your cookie, like the browser actually knows, like the server actually knows what are your interests. Based on that one, it can bombard a lot of advertisements and so on. Okay, so people don't like, if they don't like it, then they actually disable them at the browser. Okay, this is the approach of URL rewriting. Still it has a problem. For every URL you are trying to send it to the server, every request you are trying to send it to the that server, you have to encode that. Okay, that URL, okay, with that session ID or whatever it is. Okay, so that's a really a little bit of problem. There are also other ways you can actually deal with this one. So another way is using these hidden form fields. Okay, in the form like we have different types of inputs. Okay, so input type, text, and then we have seen all the types. Okay, so even files we have seen. So there is a type called hidden, using which like this is a hidden form field. Again, like you can you put a name for session, and then like you can put a value for session ID. Okay, so that means like every time you are sending this hidden form, it is actually carrying that session ID to the server. The server can actually map that ID for all the data, whatever it has stored for that particular user on the server. Okay, so again, this solution also works perfect even when cookies are disabled or not supported. Okay, but again, the disadvantage is it's a very tedious process. Like if all the pages we have to have this sort of form hidden form field, okay, and all pages must be the result of form submissions. This is also a little bit tricky, not always it happens, okay. So this is how like you can have your own session tracking, okay. But Java Servlets API also has that default session tracking API, okay. And then like in the background, like it uses the similar technologies, but then like all these things are hidden for you, okay. So basically, like you can access this sort of session object by calling this request.get session, okay, to get the HTTP session object, okay. So this is the hash table associated with the user. So once you have this sort of session object accessed at the request from the server side, you can look for the information associated with the session. Say for example, you can call this sort of get attribute on the HTTP session object. Okay, and then like you can actually cast that return value to the appropriate type and check whether the result is null or not. Okay, so basically like from the session, like you can actually get the attribute with a particular name. Okay, that will actually get you the value which we have stored for that particular session on that particular HTTP session object. Okay, and if you want to store the information in the session, so the similar thing, just like the get attribute, you actually use the set attribute with a key and value, so that like that attribute is set in the session. Okay, and if you want to remove an attribute, okay, so you can remove the attribute, and that actually discards a specific value. Okay, and then like if you want to completely invalidate the session, you have this method invalidate to discard an entire session. Okay, and here are some of the very important methods of HTTP session. Okay, so as I already explained, like get attribute is a method which actually extracts the previously stored value from the session object. Okay, and this returns a null if no value is associated with that particular name. Okay, and if you want to set an attribute for the session, so you can call this method set attribute associates a value with the name. Of course, like people can also monitor changes if the value has changed, so you can actually implement like HTTP session binding listener, okay, using which like you can actually see if there are any changes in a value. Okay, and as I already explained, like a remove attribute will remove the value associated with that one. And say for example, instead of reading each and every attribute like get attribute, you can actually get attribute names, all the attributes which are associated with that particular HTTP session object. Okay, or you can actually get its ID, returns the unique identifier of the session. And there are also some supporting methods. Say for example, you can actually see like is this session new. Okay, is new method will actually determine if the session is new for that particular client. Okay, okay, and then like you can actually get the creation time of that session. Okay, returns the time at which the session was first created. Get last access time, so when was the last time like you accessed the session, okay, when the client has actually come. Okay, and we can actually set this max inactive interval or set max inactive interval, using which like you can actually set like how long the session is valid. Okay, say for example 10 minutes or like 30 minutes, whatever you want to do. Okay, you can actually set that one. And as I already explained, like invalidate will actually invalidates the current session. Okay, so let's try to see an example how we can actually use this sort of session tracking. Okay, so here the basic idea is like I want to buy several items. Okay, so for that one, what I am trying to do is like I have created a HTTP session. Okay, request.get session. Okay, so I am of course like I am synchronizing all the session object. Okay, so that like there are no race conditions, suppress warnings unchecked, and then like what I am trying to do is like I have a list of previous items. Whatever the items I am trying to buy, so I am basically saving it in a list with an attribute name of previous items. So when I get the sessions.get attribute previous items, I am actually getting a list object with that particular previous items. If previous items is equal to null, that means like that attribute is not yet set. Okay, I am creating a new array list with that string. Okay, and then like I am adding it to the previous items. Okay, so basically what I am trying to do is like in a form like I am actually sending a new item. Okay, which I need to buy. Okay, so I am getting that again as request.get parameter new item from the form field. I will show you the example in the demo. Okay, so new item I am trying to get, and then like I'm verifying if the new item is not equal to null, so that means like new item is actually set there, okay, and it is its value is something, not new item dot trim dot equals something. If you are just putting the blanks, there is no point in adding it. If not, I am actually adding that value, new add that value to the previous items array list. So this is how like I am actually adding all these items to this previous items list, and then I am actually setting the attribute, okay, to the session as previous items and then with this object, okay, previous items object. So this is the key, this is the value. Now when I want to check like what are the items the user already wants to purchase, okay, so I can actually check at a different place. If previous items dot size is equal to 0, then there are no items. If not, I can have a list of all the items the user wants to purchase, okay, over println. So for all these previous items, so previous items, this is an array list, okay. So basically like I'm trying to read through all the elements here, okay, and then like trying to create a list out of it, HTML list out of it. Let's see the demo. So we have seen the cookies. So basically, so here is my servlet for show item, for showing all the items, okay. Just like everything, like this is a show items is this servlet, okay. So if you request for this one, this is handled by this servlet, okay. So as I explained in the source code on the slide, so all I am doing is like I have the session, from the session I have getting these previous items, okay, and then like if there is a new item is requested for that one, and I am adding that new item to this sort of previous items array list, and then like I am adding it to the session as an attribute, okay. Now every time like this servlet is requested, I am also trying to display all the previous items which the user wants to purchase, okay. So the idea is like okay, so again like I am setting the response, okay, creating a HTML page, response dot set content type text slash HTML, print writer, items purchased is the title for the page, I am setting it, also setting basic HTML information for that one. Then I am creating it, say for example a list of okay, so in the body like I am actually trying to make a list of all the items which the user wants to purchase, okay. So the same source code, I will give you the source code, put it on the Moodle page, okay. So let's try to see it. So here is the order form. So again like the order form is very simple. So the order form as well like I have saved it in my web content, okay. So here is my order form, okay. So you can actually see it, it is very simple. So basically it is a form with an input type, new item, okay, and the submit button, that's all, okay. So this is my order form, okay. Now the basically what are the items like I want to purchase, say for example I want to purchase a pen, order and show all the items I want to purchase. So this is a pen, okay, which is there, and then like let me go back, okay. So let me refresh this one. So now I want to buy a pencil, okay, order and show all the purchase. See, now the second time like this, since even though I have sent only the pencil, the browser already knows my session ID of this particular client, and then like it has associated with all the earlier items, okay. So that's what basically like this what this show items servlet is actually doing. So based on previous items like to this list, it is actually adding. So let's go back to the form again. Say for example, I want to buy something like a fan. I want to buy it. Okay, so basically, so this is how like I am actually creating all the cart. Okay, and now I can have the additional steps like say for example like go for the checkout and pay for all the things, set the address and everything. Okay, even then the session can be maintained. This is how you actually work with these particular sessions. Okay, let's move back to the lecture. So that's about it. Okay, this is about Java servlets and also like even tracking the sessions. Okay, so working with cookies and tracking the sessions. So again, like as I always have mentioned, His book is very good, Code Servlets and Java Server Pages. It's an open book. It has all these examples. It has all the chapters. It has even this source code as well available for that one. As always, like some of the slides I might have adapted from this PPT as well. Okay. So thank you very much for your attention.